Ladies and gentlemen, our beloved viewers, we thank you for the support you're giving to the African Integration Think Tank. Like we are doing, we shall bring you very prominent people that discuss matters of integration in different fields. And today, primarily, we shall be discussing matters of education. Not only in Africa, we shall be having it from the East African community point of view. The East African community member states, 7 of them, and we shall also be giving it a perspective of Africa as a whole. My name is Gashegu Muramira, the Executive Director of the think tank, and I do report for the African Integration News Agency. Today in our studio or in our platform today, we are glad to host Professor Gaspard Banyankimbona. Banyankimbona is the Executive Secretary of the InterUniversity Council for East Africa. The InterUniversity Council for East Africa is the institution for the EAC charged with overseeing education matters in the region. Professor, you're most welcome to the African Integration Think Tank and the Integration News Agency.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muramira. I'm glad to be with you today.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
Professor, I'll straight away start with the issue of the common higher education area. We have a challenge in the region that the partner states of the EAC don't recognize the academic documents from each other. For instance, a lawyer from a lawyer practicing in Kenya, Nairobi, cannot come and practice in Kampala, for instance, and have the academic documents recognized the same way they would in Nairobi. Why are we having this taking long? Yet I know that the EAC Heads of State Summit approved that in Dar es Salaam 2017, but we are still having difficulties in that.
Recognize the East African community as a common higher education area.
Yes.
It was in May 2017.
Yes.
And before, a number of achievements were made by InterUniversity Council for East Africa for that step to be attained.
Yes.
Number one, it is the quality assurance framework at regional level. All the policy document to support quality assurance were put in place.
Yes.
There are a number of them. I can give an example. We have a famous book. It's a handbook. It's called Roadmap to Quality. It is in 5 volumes. It can guide from the beginning of an idea of creating a university up to the approval of the accreditation, up to the assessment, and up to the level of the organization of the training in a class. Number 2, we had this East African qualification framework for higher education. That was also there before that step. We had a policy on mobility of students and staff, which was also there at that particular time. And we also had created what we call an East African Quality Assurance Network. Why I'm insisting on quality? Because recognizing a qualification from a higher education institution means that it went through the same process under the same guidelines and standard to be recognized.
Okay.
So now, we are charged of harmonizing our education systems.
Yes.
And indeed, that is the problem, because even at national level, there is still a need of harmonization.
Yes.
So now, when you talk about recognition of qualification, like automatic recognition of qualification, it involves other players, like the professional bodies. And I think at university level, there is no problem of recognizing qualification.
Okay.
But when you enter deep into the practices of the professional bodies, that is where the problem starts.
The professional bodies you're talking about, for instance, in Uganda?
Yes. We have lawyers, professional bodies, we have accountant professional bodies. So they have their own regulation. Like in some countries, even after graduation, before you go to practice, then you need to be recognized as a professional through additional kind of training in a professional body. But again, what we need more is to expose those countries to qualification from other countries, for them to be receiving them friendly. Number two, we have been moving with what we call a regional accreditation framework. Now we want to have program regionally accredited. So if a program now, if it is regionally accredited, and we have started, now the call is permanently open, any university willing to upgrade their program to regional level, of course, we raised a bit the standard, so it can apply for a regional accreditation, and that program, which would have been regionally accredited, when you graduate from that program, then there is no need for you to go through the process of recognition, because the program is regionally recognized. And we are working for that with the National Council, National Commission for Higher Education, to be able to achieve that.
So you're saying there is some light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes, indeed, the common higher education area is a reality, but implementation, it's a process. It's a process. Of course, it will take some time, because at the end of the day...
There are no timelines for this?
No, there are no timelines, because at the end of the day, it is part of the implementation of the Common Market Protocol, which brings on board now the free movement
of people,
of skills and labor and everything. So it's a process. We shall attain it. But again, for us, we believe that improvement of quality assurance processes, adherence of higher education institution to the regional quality assurance framework, it is one of the steps to go through for any degree to be recognized regionally.
Thank you so much, Professor. I now come to the issue of the tuition fees.
Yes.
We are talking of harmonization of the education system.
Yes.
And we still see students from East Africa being regarded as international students. For instance, I know the university that is charging, for instance, a Ugandan 2 million shillings for tuition per semester, and then they charge almost 4 million for somebody coming from any other partner state in the East African community. How do we talk about achieving the EAC Common Market Protocol and its provisions and harmonization without addressing this? Why is somebody from Burundi, for instance, treated as an international student in a university like University of Nairobi? This is an example. Why is that happening? Why did you flatten it up as the IUCEA?
So thank you very much. I think maybe we need to improve the way we communicate, because the Council of Ministers, which is the high-level decision-making in the community, has given a directive that not only any student from the community moving in another country should be considered as national when it comes to the fee to pay, and should also pay in local currency.
Yes, true.
So some countries, including Uganda, have moved fast, and they are implementing. So far, we have a number of scholarship programs, and we do send students in different universities in the community, and all those universities are implementing that. Yes, we have been receiving feedback of some universities, individual universities, that are not complying. But what we do when we receive such a request, we write either to the university, if it's a member university, or to the line ministry of that the country where the university is from, when it is not a member of IUCEA, and we append the directive of the Council of Ministers, and it always worked. So even for the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, that recently joined, if you are following the news, in Kenya they were cleared. Even here in Uganda, it's likely, I cannot confirm, that they are also about to be considered fully as East African, so that they can benefit also from that directive of the Council of Ministers. Of course, we may need to make a kind of follow-up to maybe give a mapping of who is complying and who is not complying. But the directive is there. The issue is compliance.
What did you do to universities that don't comply? They repeated they don't comply.
Of course, we cannot take them to court.
Don't you have any penalty?
No, we cannot. Body? All we do is advocacy.
Okay.
We advocate. Maybe we write to the line minister, and at least when the line minister writes to them, then they will automatically comply. And we are informed that a number of ministries in charge of higher education have written to their universities to give them that directive. So we expect it to be cleared.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Professor, we are again welcoming you to the Africa Integration Think Tank. Ladies and gentlemen, following our interview with Professor Gaspard Banyankimbona, we request you to keep subscribing, liking our videos. We're trying to bridge the gap between people at the top, like Professor, and somebody down. For example, a student who is studying in one of the universities in South Africa, they could be wondering why they pay in US dollars, while the others pay in local currency. And the professor is here telling you that they are working on it and making sure those universities that don't comply get into line of complying. Professor, we have students who are not meeting the industrial demands. You find universities producing students that just get on the market and cannot be employed because they are not getting the right skills. How much are you engaging the private sector in this? Do you engage the industries and tell them, please come and help? That academia industry partnership, is it there? And if it is there, is it achieving the right goals?
Thank you very much. Maybe I have to say that yes, most of the product from higher education end up in the industry.
Yes.
But for us, as we train them, we want them to be autonomous and maybe to also be in a way or in another, self-employed.
Yes.
So for us at InterUniversity Council level, what we do to bridge the gap in terms of improving the skills.
Yes.
We have started a process, we call it benchmark,
yes,
whereby we benchmark in different disciplines, and then we send it back to universities to source from those benchmark and then develop updated and relevant curriculum that take into account the reality of the moment, including the industry needs. Now, what is critical is the process now of curriculum development. Who is involved? Normally, when you go through our quality assurance roadmap,
yes,
it is guided that when you start developing a curriculum, you are expected to engage all stakeholders, yes, including the industry.
Yes.
Some do that properly,
yes,
but some may not do it the way we wanted it to be.
Yes.
So we end up having a way whereby graduate now as we talk may not be fitting in the demand of the industry.
Yes.
But again, all is about technology. Maybe it's how do we catch up with the evolving technology today.
True. That's true.
Yes, that may be the problem. And the industry is, profit oriented, so they update quickly. But at university level, update may take some time. That is where the gap is. But again, for us, we are trying to do our best, and we urge universities to use our benchmark. We have so far developed 20 benchmarks. It's just a few when you compare to the discipline that are offered in higher education, but it's a continuous job. So we are going to continue engaging them. And on our side again, we do engage the private sector in different aspects, including a forum, yes, that we are organizing every 2 years.
You're talking about the APPF?
Yes, academia, yes, private partnership forum.
Yes.
And it's for us an opportunity to link them. At the end of the day, we are charged also to facilitate networking.
Yes.
So we bring together academia, researchers, innovators, and the private players, yes, the business community. So from there, they do interact and move more than curriculum development, go about research and taking to scale a number of innovations that are happening in universities. And even for us, we are now coordinating a number of projects, including a famous project that you may know, the Higher Education, the African Higher Education Centers of Excellence.
Yes, true. I know that.
So through that particular project, we have initiated what we call innovation and incubation centers.
Okay.
In 4 universities. So from there, they can initiate some innovation.
Okay.
And they have proved that through that particular incubation center, they attract more private investment.
Okay.
And some of the prototypes are taken to scale from there.
Okay.
So with that interaction, we believe that it can bridge the gap of how the business community is connected to universities and then reach out the time whereby the business or private community will be more involved even in curriculum development and then bridge the skills gap that is the reality today.
Professor, you talked about the APPF, the forum that EMEA and the industry people, the private sector.
Yes.
It is now the 12th time that you're holding this forum. Are you happy with the progress being made? I know there are challenges here and there. How are you handling them?
Yeah, thank you very much. If I can say that I'm happy, I'll be lying. But I'm proud of the progress made so far. The reality is, yes, we bring on board a number of people. They make a number of presentations. Universities
very wonderful presentation.
Yes, universities are there. They present a number of their achievement in terms of research.
Yes.
But then after 2 years, we go back. We do the same. There is nothing happening. So now
there's no progress here.
There is no progress. I mean, for us, as I said, we want to create that particular networking.
Yes.
You see, we want that whenever we organize an academia public-private partnership forum, then from there, at least a number of partnership is initiated between universities and the business community.
Okay.
So far, like from the last APPF that we have held in Dar es Salaam, it was in March last year, not March this year actually. It was in March this year. We are very proud of the outcome that is coming out. We have managed to
So usually meet the industry people and assess progress, even before the 2 years elapse?
Actually, that is the kind of follow-up that we are going to initiate.
Okay.
We have never done that, but we want to make it. Like for now, we have held that particular forum as usually, but we also organized a side event whereby we interacted with potential donors.
Okay.
Some committed.
Yes.
They were given a floor and they committed to support. And we are happy to announce that we are moving forward to have a partnership with IBM, which really was there, very supportive and committed.
Okay.
And a number of universities also entered into contact with a number of companies that were there. So we shall assess that before we organize the next APPF so that we assess the progress that our forum is making in the community.
Thank you so much, Professor. We are moving on well with our interview, and we really want to bring this progressing in the region and Africa as a large to reality. Professor, we know that in the developed world, the issue of research and research is paid attention to greatly. Why is it still lacking in East Africa and Africa as a whole? Why aren't we seeing investment into research? I mean, because education cannot move any step without based on good research. Why are we seeing that gap not filled yet?
Thank you very much. That's a good question. If I was to take it very simple, I would respond that it is not our culture. But again, that would be a very good shortcut. Now the issue is, yes, we need to understand. Now when we talk about research in our region, it is like I have not the figures. I have not conducted any study on that, but it's like 80% done in university setting. That is the reality. Now, looking at how research in universities is funded, that is where you understand why we are lagging behind. Now, what can we do? Again, getting a research fund from the government, it is possible. Like in this country, Uganda, I know that there is a research fund which is operational. At regional level, there is an initiative that is being taken forward by East African Research Commission, which is based in Kigali, Isteko. It is they are championing the creation of a research fund.
True.
But again, we also need to attract private investment in research. So that is what I was referring to as we think about, when you want to attract business people, then you need to be selling something. You need to be selling something. So for us, we believe that through the centers of excellence, if at all they are getting more support, because the centers of excellence is about research, because they are training at master's and PhD level, and that is where research is happening. If inside those research centers, we think about taking to scale the creation of incubation centers, whereby a number of innovative ideas are developed into prototypes that can attract the interest of the private community. Then even the private community can enter into the game and then start also funding research.
For example, I know of young people in Kenya, the M-Pesa, that came up with a very good innovative idea. I know in Uganda there is something like Chila, where they are making vehicles. You're saying there's some money going to be dedicated to innovation and research?
Yeah, definitely. And on our side, we have organized, there is a project which is called D-Skills, it's the digital skills for employment in East Africa. We have managed to bring a number of young innovators on board. We made a kind of competition along the community. They came with innovative ideas. Of course, we gave them a kind of reward, but it's just a small amount. We co-organized it with GIZ. But I think the ideas are there. The problem is, how do we fund them? How do we take them to scale? That is the problem. So research, the funding research, the policies on how do we fund the research. And you remember, the African Union recommended 1% of the GDP to be, in research. But when you assess what is happening in our countries, I don't think there is any single country that is hitting that particular target. So it's about funding again, but it's more about understanding. The time they understand that through research, we can now pretend to go where others are today, then we shall catch up.
Thank you very much, Professor. We call on our viewers again to keep subscribing, sharing our videos on the African Integration Think Tank YouTube channel. We shall also be sharing, we request you to keep sharing our interviews that we are having with the big people up there, like you see Professor Gaspard, who are heading these institutions of the East African community, institutions of the common market, that's the COMESA at continental level, and the FCTA. We keep bringing these people to you so that you listen to them and then compare whether what they are telling you is what is happening down. So we're trying to bridge that gap as a think tank. Professor, how are you working with the partner states, governments, to make sure students' movement is easy?
It's not that easy, that question, because we are in education sector, and what you are talking about, the student pass, is with immigration. But as an institution of the East African community that is meant on that, we advocate because it is being handled in another ministry. Then we contacted our ministry. We are lucky because in our governing board, we do have the permanent secretaries from the Ministry of Education. So whenever we have such a problem, so we report to them and they request them to now contact the line Ministry for Immigration to take that in charge.
Okay.
So far, we had a problem with the students from South Sudan going to Kenya or coming to Uganda.
Okay.
Last, it was in July, we had a groundbreaking ceremony here for phase construction that we are going to do. And we were lucky to have invited the Honorable Minister of East African Affairs, Uganda.
Yes.
And we were lucky to have the ambassador of South Sudan to Uganda, who was also here. So we really connected them, and they discussed the issue of student pass.
Okay.
That was the problem that we are having. So like 1-2 weeks later, it was sorted out. So now there is no problem.
So there is engagement, yeah.
There is engagement. Now with Kenya, we also tried to follow up, and we are informed that they are using diplomatic channels. They are in touch with South Sudan to be able to sort it out. Otherwise, students from other parts of the countries, now maybe we may not be informed about students from Congo, but I think it's now being cleared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor Gaspard Banyankimbona, the Executive Secretary of the InterUniversity Council for East Africa. We shall keep bringing you such big people at the top. Please stay tuned for an upcoming interview about the civil aviation matters in East Africa. We shall be bringing here the Executive Director of the CASOA, the institution in charge of air travel. We again request you to give comments, and from those comments, we shall be having questions for interviews for our guests here. From me and the team at the African Integration ThinkTank, we want to say thank you so much for your time. And we want to say thank you so much to Professor Gaspard Banyankimbona for this interesting interview and impactful, because so many people didn't know about some of these things. We thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the followers.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.